Hello, Dr. Vijayakar.
Yeah.
You're the heart and soul of predictive homeopathy. The first ideas of predictive homeopathy came many years ago. What has changed since that days? What was steady from the beginning on? What has evolved?
Nothing has changed since the inception of predictive homeopathy. Predictive homeopathy has literally grown, but grown over gradually into becoming something more and more fruitful. So it was a small seed which I planted, which came out to be a small plant, and now it is blossoming into a big, beautiful tree with flowers and fruits. So nothing has literally changed, but it is giving more and more fruits. In fact, the ideas of getting better and better results have increased, and wherein we are incorporating more and more scientific data to make it easier for the people to follow homeopathy and get more perfect results, more certain results. Basically nothing has changed. It is always, it and was and will be always based on genetics. Based on genetics. And that genetic base of genetic cannot change. We can only become better and better in understand the genetic inheritance or the genetic reflections of the symptoms in the human body.
Okay. You introduced the expression genetic or stem cell simillimum into homeopathy. What do you mean with that in aspect of the normal simillimum?
See, basically, when Hahnemann said, treat the man in disease and not disease in man, there was no concept of genes and genetic techniques or other genetic code, which came much later. Genes and genetics came much later. And Hahnemann was not able to express himself as to what he means by man in disease. So my idea was, when I understood what is man in disease, my idea was that Hahnemann was talking about the genetic code of every person. Now, as we all know, that if you go to the Google and you try to find out the genes, if you try to find out how the gene influences or genetic code influences a person, you will find that every individual is different. So genetic code of every person is different marginally from the other person. This is very strictly in keeping with Hahnemann's idea of individualization. And this was my base, that you need to understand the genetic code so that you individualize a patient better. Like, for example, if a table is broken and a carpenter is called on to repair it, so he will ask what is broken, what was this table made up of, whether it was made up of wood, whether it was made up of glass, whether it was made up of steel, or was it made up of acrylic or fiberglass, all of which will require a different means or different adhesive to repair. Well, a wooden table would require a screw, nut, bolt, etc. A glass table will require some araldite or some adhesive, whereas something like steel and fiberglass may require welding, maybe different types of welding. So every cure is going to be different depending upon what was the material used for the table. Similarly, we need to understand that in homeopathy, every person is different, and if he is different from the other, for the same disease, he is bound to get a different remedy. So we need to individualize him from genetic code point of view, that whether what is his mental setup, what is his physical setup, makeup rather, what is his tolerance and intolerance, what is his sensitivity, and what are disease is prone to. So this incorporates the whole genetic code, and that is why I named it as genetic GCS, genetic code similimum. Now, when Hanuman said that treat the man in disease and not disease in man, there was different people who got up, his followers, and they started using their own understanding about man in disease. So own understanding about man in disease, some individualized the man through mind only. And some others took only the physicals into consideration, some the generals, some the particulars. So there was no conformity or no similarity between all these practitioners, which made any newcomer very difficult to understand. When I identify it with the genes or genetic code similimum, then nowadays people understand it much better, because now we have given it a scientific base, that we are not prescribing in the air. We are not prescribing that I feel that man in disease means only the human mind, or man in disease is only the physicals or the generals, etc. So this is the difference. Secondly, when Hanuman said about this being what you call as, no sorry, when Hanuman said prescribe for the man in disease, he has also given us different approaches for different types of diseases. In acute cases, he has given a different approach. In mental cases, he has given a different approach. In intermittence, he has given a different approach. In one-sided disease, it is different approach. So there are different approach for different types of diseases, which again is reflected in the genetic code. So the genetic code of one person during the acute phase manufactures or synthesizes the RNA. So the RNA in acute phase is supposed to give us an RNA similimum. So there will be a difference between RNA similimum and DNA similimum. So if you understand this homeopathy from genetic point of view, then our idea of entering into a case and prescribing for the patient becomes more simple, and reaching at a similimum becomes still more simple.
Good, yeah, thank you. What is so important to know the correct miasm? What can happen if you take the wrong miasmic symptoms?
Hanuman, when he discovered the law of cure, when he discovered the law of cure, similia similibus curantur, he was still not happy, because most of the cases failed to show permanent results. On the basis of symptom similarity, he gave the treatment, but unfortunately, it was not a permanent cure. So he started wondering what is wrong. So he started going in search of what is called as the keystone. He said there was some keystone which was missing. And then finally, he came to the conclusion that all the diseases have different origins, and basically three origins. One was Sora, that was psychosis, and third was syphilis. Having understood this, then he started going into depth of what are the psoric symptoms, what are the psychotic symptoms, what are the syphilitic symptoms. We as homeopaths try to just take histories and find out a simillimum without understanding what the patient's miasm was. So he has somewhere in the aphorism from between 201 to 206, he has said that it is of utmost importance that we find out which is the uppermost miasm. We have to identify the uppermost miasm, because when a chronic case comes to you, it is always mixed up with psoric psychosis or psoric and syphilis, or all the three miasms can be mixed up together. So he said that without finding out which is the uppermost miasm, you should not treat it. You need to remove the uppermost miasm, which is more dangerous miasm. If, for example, if a psoric patient is coming to me, I give psychotic, take psychotic symptom or syphilitic symptom and prescribe to him, he might get cured, because psychosis and syphilis is a bigger miasm, with more dangerous miasm. Of course, soda is the more dangerous because it gives birth to both these miasms. But if in a psychotic case, if I only take into consideration the psoric symptoms, or in strictly in physiological, pathological terms or physiological terms, if you call it as physiological illness or physiological symptoms, you prescribe on only the hypersensitivity or pain or the psoric symptom, then there might be only temporary amelioration with further aggravation of psychosis. So this is always seen in cases of heart problems where anxiety is there. Patient says, I'm feeling much restless here, I've got some anxious feeling, and when I climb up, I get too much palpitation, I get anxiety, I might get heart attack, and we prescribe for the anxiety in chest. The disease by itself is psychosis because of arteriosclerotic condition. The blood pressure has gone up, but I am prescribing for the anxiety. When I prescribe for the anxiety is removed. So the psora is removed. The psoric symptom is just suppressed. But the psychosis goes on getting a bit worse and worse. So one fine day, though the patient will come and tell you that, doctor, your medicine has worked wonders, I no more get this anxious feeling here, my anxiety is gone, chest pain is gone, when I climb up, I don't feel anything bad now. And in the next week you'll find that he gets a massive heart attack and dies. That is, you have silenced the symptoms, the psoric symptoms, which were actually his warning signs. It is something like a car having green light, red light, the dashboard of the car having green light, red light, yellow light, etc. But these lights are danger lights, lights which are warning you that oil is over, petrol is over, the engine oil is over, or brake oil is over. So if you don't try to heat it, and that just because these lights are poking into your eye, you try to close it, then your engine might get jammed up and you are in for big trouble. So just treating the psoric symptoms in a case of psychosis is very dangerous. Similarly, in syphilitic cases, where the patient has gone into rheumatoid arthritis, for example, you have to see how that constitution is projecting itself or asking you for help in a syphilitic way. Because with every disease the mind and the body both goes into the syphilitic mode. In Sora, they both are in soric mode. In psychosis, both are in psychotic mode. But as syphilis comes in, then both go into syphilitic mode. But it so happens that most of the cases of rheumatoid arthritis or hypertension, or in cases of tumors, or in cases of renal failure, we try to take up the picture which is purely psychotic. That means what you see, oh, this girl, this lady is carcinogenic. She's so nice, she loves art, she's very docile, she's had strong domination, and then we prescribe her carcinosin and she might die because you are prescribing for a facade. Because the carcinosin picture which she is giving us is a facade. Most of the time, all the human beings in this world are having a picture which they want to show to the world. We are not ourselves. It's always a facade. We are trying to project ourselves of what we want the world to know us as. So if we want the world to be known as a very angry or a strong and aggressive person, then you project it that way. Yes. If you want the person to know that you are also docile and so benevolent, you project it that way. But for physicians, it is imperative that we have to break that facade, go into the depth, find out what is destructive, what is syphilitic in that person. If you don't find the syphilitic, you are never going to heal him, you are going to kill him.
Yes.
So that is the importance of going in for the syphilitic kill.
Good, thank you. You dramatically involved the treatment of cancer cases. You have healed hundreds of cancer patients. Could you please tell us in short how to treat cancer in comparison to normal chronic diseases? You told me that we need mostly two different remedies. Can you please tell more about cancer treatment?
See, for this I would like to tell you first of all that my cancer research is not complete, and it's wrong for me to say that I've cured hundreds of patients. I may have cured many, and I'm on the way towards a very big opening into the mysteries of cancer. But basically, if you go to see the definition of cancer is in your books of medicine. The basics, basically it is defined as a corporeal disease of the body, disease of the corpus. Now, it is first of all very important for us to understand that human being is made up of two things, material and immaterial. That means the material being or organism which goes on multiplying from one cell to many cells in the womb in the first 4 months. That is where the body or the material body is being shaped into with our head, foot and all the organs in place. They are still not working. After the 4th month comes the entry of or activation of the life force. From wherever it comes, we do not know. But then there is matter, the material body, in which we are adding to it something vital, and that's why he says vital force. It's not an energy, but it's a force which is now making it run. Having understood these two things, that human being is made up of two things, one material and immaterial. After the birth, of course, it gets its own mind and it goes on to live its own individual life. But when when there is a cancer which is visceral, which is more of corporeal, it has nothing to do with the mind. Mind of the person can initiate the cancer, can make it a starting point. But once the body cell starts multiplying, whether it is the bones, whether it is the lungs, whether it is the liver, whether it is the whatever part in the body, kidneys, etc., it's the parenchyma which is multiplying. It is the bodily structure which is multiplying. And this body structure was built by the synthesized or created by the body in the first 4 months, when there was no element of the vital force or the mind, the immaterial. So we have to attack first the material side of the material part and treat it from that point of view. And once we have understood this, or once we have treated this, then the patient as a whole has to be treated. So first part is treating of the cancer itself, that means the viscera or the structure of the body. And the second part will be treatment of the patient as a whole, so that it does not again relapse. That's why this cannot be cured with only one medicine. It has to require 2 medicines which are in some way related.
Which would be a cancerous remedy,
No.
and then the constitutional remedy.
Not cancerous remedy. I never said cancerous remedy. Cancer is a disease which is multifaceted. But again, this remedy will be covering the miasm. The miasm. It can be sodic in case of leukemia, in something which is coming suddenly, going suddenly, acute ALL and AML. It could be psychotic growth, or it could be destructive also. And every tissue gives a cancer in a different, expresses a cancer in a different manner, depending upon its origin. I think, yeah, we have not taken this into this thing, but the ectoderm always goes into destruction. That means the skin and the nervous system never develop into tumors. The endoderm will always develop into tumors. Mostly the endoderm goes into multiplication always and develops into tumors. So ectoderm always destruction, endoderm always construction, and mesoderm we have got 2 parts. The old mesoderm will always multiply, the new mesoderm will always get destroyed. So the tumors will be in endoderm, the old endoderm, endoderm itself, and old mesoderm, whereas destruction will be in ectoderm and the mesoderm part, which is new mesoderm.
Interesting.
So it will be different in different places. So don't call it cancer.
Yes.
It's always a defense mechanism. Cancer begins as a defense mechanism. So we have to see how and where this patient was trying to defend itself. And in what way? By creating ulcer or creating excessive multiplication.
Okay. Another thing I would ask you, you spoke about the mind of disease. What do you mean with that?
God has made us in two parts, mind and body. The body is merely a tool which mind uses. Body is merely a tool that mind uses. My hand cannot write or do anything without order coming from the mind, as you all know. It cannot just slap or pinch someone and come without my knowledge. So my whole body, this material body, is ruled by and governed by and dictated by the mind. Each and every cell, each and every tissue, each and every organ, each and every system is governed by mind. So if the body is going to behave or misbehave, it is always because of, it's going to be, if it behaves or misbehaves, the mind is responsible. It is the mind which is responsible. It cannot be that the tissues are multiplying by themselves or ulcerating by themselves or inflaming by themselves. So each and every tissue has been controlled by the mind, and of that particular understanding or conflict of the mind will be seen in each and every tissue whenever that tissue gets diseased. And that is what we call as the mind of the pathology. If there is, for example, I'm just trying to tell you an example, if there is what you call as the ileocecal junction. So ileocecal junction, there is a growth there. This is as if the body is trying to seal a pact that the ileum and cecum should not get separated. There is a growth which is trying to plaster it. Ileum and cecum are two not very similar organs, but they are conjoined, they are joined there. So one is the stronger partner, one is the weaker partner. The ileum is a weaker partner, cecum is a smaller partner, stronger partner. This reflects that something in this family or this person's life, there has been a conflict where a weak and a strong are trying to get separated, and this person is trying to put it back. That means the husband and wife probably are going in for divorce, and now this lady does not want the divorce. Or one strong partner in a business and a weak partner in a business. If they are trying to separate, the body will grow in such a manner that it will seal these two things so that they don't get separated. So this is the mind of the pathology working. So I can give you plenty of examples in this, but every part of the body has a meaning, and every inflammatory or inflammation, growth or destruction has a meaning. Wherever there is a growth or wherever there is inflammation, there has to be irritation and anger. Wherever there is growth, when there is no growth, two things. If the growth is in what you call as glands, it is bound to be that this person wants to supply something as a nutrition. Whereas if there is a growth of only cells trying to hold on, then that means there is insecurity, and that particular part is the body wants to be cordoned off or made secure. So the body is always trying to secure you. Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest, it's always trying to defend itself.
That means that there is always a sense of the pathology.
There is a sense in the pathology, absolutely. Nothing in this world is senseless. Everything is mathematics. That's why I've written in my books. The world is mathematics, homeopathy is mathematics. This world is mathematics. Everything is so mathematically calculable.
Fine. Now let's get to the last question. What do you think of the future of homeopathy?
Fantastic. It's the future of homeopathy. If people follow predictive homeopathy. Predictive means they have to understand it with such a deep understanding, as I told you now, that every tissue makes it known, makes the constitution known in a disease. It is not imperative or it's not compulsory to take 2 and 3 days history. Those who take too much of history, they are making a mess of homeopathy.
Yes, that's true.
The body is constantly trying to tell you that I am this, I require this remedy. From the pathology, from the symptoms, it is trying to tell you, but your eyes do not see what mind does not perceive. And you run around and run around and run around. So it's like a man without an address.
Yes.
Coming to Bombay and say, where is Dr. Vijayakar? Let me search. So he has to go around the whole Bombay. Even if he goes for 10 days, he will not find Dr. Vijayakar unless he finds some homeopath telling him.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vijayakar, for the interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.